There was a really, really important moment during XFL Week 5 we need to discuss. It was the end of the Seattle-Houston game. Here's what happened. Houston had a 9-point lead, which, by the way, in the XFL, that's a one-score game because you can get a 6-point touchdown and then a 3-point after touchdown conversion, giving you 9 points in one possession. So a 9-point game is a one-possession game in the XFL. PJ Walker, the quarterback of Houston, went down, got on a knee, game ended. But there were 2 seconds left. It was 4th down, and PJ Walker was on the 22-yard line. What that means is that Seattle should have gotten the ball 1st and 10 on the 22-yard line going in with 2 seconds left on the clock. That didn't happen. Now, the game ended. They at least allegedly ended. Seattle didn't notice. Seattle didn't argue. Nobody actually seemed to notice the problem. Everybody walked off. The refs were gone. The field is just crowded with players in the middle shaking hands and trading jerseys. Everybody left. And it's a tough situation because the game should have had one final play. The game should not have actually ended because technically it didn't. Technically, there should have been still 2 seconds left on the clock. But by the time the XFL officials in the booth realized what had happened, they would have had to organize everybody, clear the field. We got one more final play, and it's tough. And so they decided not to do that. And I want to read what statement the XFL gave about the game because I thought they were really transparent and really cool. Here is the XFL statement regarding the Seattle-Houston game. They said, Saturday's Seattle Dragons-Houston Roughnecks game should not have ended as it did. Replays showed that the knee of the Houston quarterback, PJ Walker, touched the field, rendering him down, and the 4th down play officially completed with approximately 2 seconds remaining on the clock, effectively turning the ball over to Seattle on downs with a 9-point differential in the score. Seattle was denied an opportunity to tie the game. The XFL sincerely regrets this error, and in addition, Wes Booker, who served as the officiating supervisor for Saturday's game, has been reassigned. So they made a great statement. I really, really appreciate the honesty from the XFL. Now, the question everyone's asking is this some horrible blemish for the XFL? Is this the end-all, be-all? How bad is this? I don't know. I mean, it's not a great situation. It's not something you definitely want to have happen if you're the XFL. But they did the only thing they could, which was say, hey, we were wrong. They acknowledged they were wrong. They did the best they could. And in fact, there were even consequences for the guy who made the wrong call. I love that. 100%, the way the game ended was wrong. That should not have happened. Seattle should have gotten one final play. They needed a 22-yard touchdown and then a 3-point conversion. That's not impossible. That's not even unthinkable. That could have actually happened. And it would have been really, really entertaining television. If anybody's mad about it, they should really just be mad. We really missed out on a cool ending to a game that would have been a lot of fun. But was Seattle horribly screwed? Is this the worst thing ever? I don't know. First of all, don't forget that Seattle had the ball with 3 minutes and 23 seconds left. 1st and 10, and their offense couldn't drive down the field and score. On a 3rd and 10, B.J. Daniels fumbled, turned over the ball, became Houston ball. Effectively, that should have ended the game. I mean, I don't know. Seattle did have an opportunity on that drive to tie the game, but they couldn't deliver. So a little bit of that statement saying Seattle was denied the opportunity to tie the game. Well, they had an opportunity. They just blew it. And if PJ Walker runs around for 2 more seconds, that game's over anyway. And I gotta say, it's really, really sad. We only remember the one negative moment from this game. At least from an officiating standpoint, because it's too bad. Other than the final moment of the game, the Seattle-Houston game was really, really well officiated. It was awesome. I mean, I was watching live and my notes say multiple times, what a great call. Great officiating. Great job by them stepping in the replay booth. There were multiple plays where the XFL stepped in and got booth reviews correct. Number one, there was a Mobley catch down the left sideline. Got overturned. It wasn't actually a catch. They got it right. Number two, Seattle had a fumble overturned because it wasn't actually a fumble. He was down, overturned it. Another great call. Number three, Houston had a touchdown on 2nd and goal, except he didn't actually score. So they went back to third and goal. And, they scored on 3rd and goal anyways, but for the sake of things, they got it right. It was the right call. And finally, fourth, the Seattle defense had an interception. They caught an interception on the sideline. They weren't sure how to call it. They reviewed it and confirmed, in fact, hey, that is an interception. It was a catch and bounce. There were multiple moments in the Seattle-Houston game where the XFL nailed it with booth reviews. They really did. They got it right. They made the right call. And every time they make a call in the XFL, I'm so impressed with, especially really in this Seattle-Houston game, with how clear and concise the message is. They very, very well explain the reasoning and the thought process behind the decision that's made. I love that. That's phenomenal. And I just go back to, it's such a shame that a well-officiated game ended the way it did. It's just awful. But I got to ask, does that one mistake, does that one bad call ruin the credibility of the XFL? It certainly should not. I mean, let's be very, very honest. The XFL is still way better than the NFL when it comes to getting calls right. They're so much more accurate. They're transparent. There are way more accurate, correct calls. And again, we always get an explanation behind why the decision was made. And that's what's interesting. I'm glad the XFL had Wes Booker, that guy, come on and explain why the game ended. And I'll be honest, I watched it and said, that your reason isn't good enough. And clearly the XFL agreed. They punished that guy. They reassigned him. Whatever that means, I think it just means he was fired. Because it didn't really make sense. The XFL did the right thing. In fact, let me be very clear. This horrible ending to a game with, first of all, it's not horrible. That's hyperbole. That's not quite right. The ending of this game was not horrible. I would even go as far as say this, though, that it was actually encouraging. The game ended the way it did. Disappointing. You kind of go, oh, that's too bad. But I really like the way the XFL handled it. If anything, the way the XFL handled the situation, owning the mistake, making a statement about it, saying we were wrong, admitting fault, admitting they were wrong. When is the last time the NFL did that? How many games in the NFL do you go, bad call, bad call, bad call, bad call, bad call? What are you doing? What's happening? Why? I very rarely do that in the XFL. And so the way that the XFL handled this controversy, to me, just makes me a bigger fan of them. If anything else, the way the Houston-Seattle game ended in the XFL actually made me love the XFL even more than I already did. I so appreciate the honesty. I so appreciate admitting fault, saying you were wrong. That's a huge part of strong opinion sports. I try to do that all the time. And the fact that the league was able to do that about this play in this moment says a lot to me. And I really, really appreciate it. I really, really value that.